welcome back to Cinematic Sarcastic, a podcast that talks all things movies and television. I'm Natalie, and I'm your host. On today's episode, we are going to be talking about episode 5 of House of the Dragon. This one was intense, y'all. This one was intense. I thought that the last episode, it's almost like they build on each other. I'm like, this is the most amazing episode. And then the next episode hits and I'm shocked. I have to admit, I was a little behind on this one. I finished watching episode 5 today, the day that I am recording this, and it aired last night. And I just got so busy that I kind of got carried away with doing some other things and didn't have the time to sit down and watch it and record my episode to get it out this morning. And I started seeing some stuff, it's hard to avoid House of the Dragon like memes and things like that. So I started seeing this screenshot, or I guess like a little meme or whatever that was going around with Daemon and Rhaenyra, and him trying to like convince her not to marry the Valyrian boy. And I genuinely thought, in my naivete, I genuinely thought that was going to be like the big deal of this episode, was going to be, Daemon doing Daemon and causing a ruckus and making things awkward. And that was like 2 minutes of this episode. And everything else was a wild ride. It was intense. I am very curious to see, just to give like a little recap of what's happened in episode 5 before I launch into like thoughts and feelings and all of that stuff. We see the king, Viserys, traveling to Driftwood in order to kind of propose to the Valyrian household the joining of both families, right? Marrying Rhaenyra off to the Valyrian son, whose name I just can't remember off the top of my head who the son is. But it is very much implied that the son likes other men. And so she kind of makes this pact with him. You can do whatever you want to do. Let me do whatever I want to do. We'll have a marriage of convenience, and it doesn't have to be that big of a deal. Obviously we'll have to do our duty, i.e. giving, heirs to the throne and yada yada. But beyond that, we don't have to be in each other's way, which if you're in, what I would be considered like a forced marriage, that's probably the ideal situation there, is just kind of having that understanding with the person. Like, we don't have to come into this expecting there to be feelings where there are none, or expecting to change who we are in order to do that. Now, here is the thing that I found a little bit confusing. It did not in any way, shape, or form occur to me in any stretch of the imagination that her and Sir Criston Cole, who I lovingly refer to as Prince Caspian, it didn't occur to me that she had any genuine feelings there. I thought that her genuine feelings were with her uncle, and that when he kind of left her in a way, let's say, that Sir Criston was just kind of a man of opportunity, if you will. I was a little taken aback by her kind of basically confessing that she had genuine feelings for him. Now, I understand he is her guard, and so maybe those feelings were there, and hence why he was the man of opportunity, because why wouldn't you if you kind of already liked him to start with? But it seems weird that if you did have feelings for him, which I know she kind of had a crush on him and stuff, but why you would go that far with Daemon, who is your uncle, if you like the guard, And it didn't occur to me either that the Night's Guard, not the Night's Guard, I don't know why that half and half was the Night's Watch and the King's Guard melded into one in my brain. It didn't occur to me that they took vows of celibacy, and I guess it didn't occur to me because Jaime Lannister was definitely not celibate, and he was. And so I think that I maybe forgot that point simply because Jamie was obviously, doing the dirty with Cersei. And so I was like, oh, well, then they must be allowed to do those things. Yeah. So I didn't grasp that. Here is my problem with Prince Caspian, right? Is that the second that the queen comes at him, because this happens, right? The queen calls him into her chambers. She hears from the new snake in the court that there was a tea that was brought to Rhaenyra, which clearly Viserys and her do not speak to each other in any way, shape, or form. But she ends up pulling, Kristen Cole into her room to kind of question him, thinking that he'll spill the beans about Rhaenyra and her uncle. And instead, he immediately spills the beans about him and Rhaenyra. And I don't know why, if it's like on pain of death, you ruin your vow or what have you, why he wouldn't be more mum about that. Like, why you wouldn't go to the grave with that secret, especially considering his actions later in the episode. But anyway, with a lot of what's going on, it's very, very clear that the king is very sick. I do not think he has grayscale anymore. It seems sort of like tuberculosis in some ways, but I don't think that is meant to be that. But I'm not extremely familiar with like how grayscale like takes you out. That was my first guess, that the king had grayscale. But just with how sick he is, and it definitely seems more tuberculosis like, in that he has a cough. We do see some blood happening in this episode, that he's like coughing up blood, or there is blood dripping out of his nose or something of that nature. So it definitely seems more like lung oriented, but just also with these abscesses and the flesh rotten. I don't know what's happening with the king, but we definitely see in this episode that he is unwell, and unwell to the point that I am assuming the transition from him to Rhaenyra will be happening fairly quickly. And here is where I am not sure how that is going to happen, because in episode 6, this is when we get the changing of the guard, i.e. the new actresses who are meant to play Rhaenyra and Alicent, but in an older state or an older age, are coming in episode 6. So how do you jump from this wedding that happens in episode 5 and everything that happens there? How do you jump that far ahead? Because in my mind, Viserys is so sick by the end of episode 5 that I feel like he would perish fairly quickly. I'm confused how they're going to have that happen. So I'm very curious to see that transition. But holy Moses, did Rhaenyra pick the wrong person to sleep with, because not only does he completely spill the beans on them sleeping together with really like no torture, no nothing. She mildly hints at it, doesn't even suggest that it's him, and he's like, it was me. Like, he completely just flakes out and tells everything. But then the bigger issue that I have with Prince Caspian is that when the boyfriend of the Valerian boy comes up to him and is like, we just need to keep the secrets of our lovers and keep them safe, and as long as we do that, everyone is safe, Prince Caspian freaking bashes this dude's face in. Are you kidding me with that? He is nuts. He is nuts. And then tries to go unlife himself later in the episode, and the queen stops him. And I'm very confused how you go that over the edge. I understand, that really he has this sense of honor. And I guess I don't understand that coming from the male perspective. Obviously, I'm not a dude, but he has this sense of honor about having tainted his white cloak and what that means to him, and that he, comes from a family where basically being a part of that, or being a white cloak, is all he has to his name. So I can see where that is then a bigger deal. But I don't know if the boyfriend of the Valerian prince telling you that he knows your secret, why, if you wanted to keep it such a secret, if you wanted to make sure, because that I feel like can be the only motivation of Kristen Cole, why he would be so aggressive, would be like, this person knows the secret, so I'm just taking my anger at what I've done out on him. But then why would you spill the secret so quickly to the queen if it's that big of a bloody deal? You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know that I have any sort of secrets in my life. Obviously, my life is not nearly as exciting as House of the Dragon. But if there was something, anything that I could think of, you know, that would put my life in danger or someone else's life in danger, the way that this secret seems to be in House of the Dragon, you best believe you're going to have to torture me. You're going to have to like pull my fingernails off, or I don't know, something, you know, or I'm not just going to tell you if you're like, so I heard a rumor that maybe something may have happened, and then I'm going to spill the beans. Like, that's not going to happen. And that's exactly how the queen gets this secret out of him, is just by skirting around the topic. She never comes out and accuses him. She never comes out and says any details of any kind. And he's just like, nope, yeah, we totally did it. But then freaks the heck out over boyfriend dude. I'm very confused by that. Extremely confused by that. And I'm more confused at how in the world you can end on that with like Rhaenyra and the prince now getting married at the end. They kind of have a shotgun sad wedding instead of this grand, 7-day affair. But I don't know how you transition from that into like 10 years from now, unless it's going to be like mid episode that they kind of jump forward. The time jumps are confusing. So I'm hoping there's a little bit more explanation that happens there on this one. But I'm not sure. I mean, I'm definitely I'm hooked. I almost would dare to say, if this goes well, and granted, we're not even midway through, right, season 1. But if this goes well, I would almost beg to differ. I might really enjoy House of the Dragon more than Game of Thrones. Ooh, do I even dare say that? I don't know. Because this one just seems like there's more intrigue happening and less, not even less murder, because like Daemon killed his wife in this episode and she was pretty too, so I don't understand what his deal was with not wanting her. I mean, granted, she seems to have hated his guts pretty thoroughly, but still, like she was nice on the eyes and clearly a badass. So I'm very confused as to like why he would not have seen her as an equal to himself, but I don't know. Daemon's a weird man. So we'll have to see what happens in next week's episode. But let me know what you guys thought of episode 5 of House of the Dragon. Subscribe if you want to join the Movie Nerd family. And I hope to see you in the next episode.